Alright guys, here's the F150 that I worked on. As you're going to see, this truck had a ton of rust from the bed sides to the rocker panels on both sides. And what I basically wanted to do was address the rust issues, replace any pieces that need to be cut out, weld in new patch panels, and finish the auto body and paint on it myself in my home garage. And by talking to some people who are in the auto body industry and watching a couple hundred hours of YouTube videos from either Pisser's channel or DIY Auto School or SWRNC, those definitely helped out. So big shout out to them. And I was pretty surprised as to how the project came out at the end. So we'll get started with the first part. Alright, so what we basically started to do is mark out with tape the surrounding areas of the rust, the areas that we wanted to cut out. We wanted to have those lines cut perfectly straight and even just to help when we put in the patch panels. And basically the tool that we used for cutting the patch panels and the rusted out areas was just an angle grinder. And for other parts that were just surface rust where there was bubbling in the paint, I basically just took an angle grinder with a 36 grit disc and just grinded it down to bare metal, as you can see in this picture here. From there, I would then either use POR 15 or any other kind of rust converter to treat that rust before I skim it over with a filler. This rear corner, again, you can see the area that I cut out. It's obviously larger than the actual rust, but you want to make sure that you're cutting all the rust out so that when you weld in the new panel, it will have something to adhere to. This is the passenger side lower rocker. As you can tell, it was, a disaster. There was rust everywhere. This is the driver's side with the new replacement rocker panel on the ground. Just to show as reference, here's a picture of the inner rocker surface rust that was on the driver's side, and a little further up towards the front of that inner rocker you can see where it's really rusted even on that inside part. So just because you see some surface rust on the outside doesn't mean there's anything happening on the inside. Usually the rust happens from the inside out. So if you're seeing bubbles on your paint, then that means the inside of that panel is completely rotted through and it's actually pushing out the layer of paint, and that's why you see those paint bubbles. So these are just some more pictures of some of the rust that was cut out. I believe this is still the driver's side rocker. Here's a portion of the inner rocker that looked like was damaged either by the previous driver bottoming out on a rock and it just pushed up on the rocker, and I think that's basically where that rust started on that side. So you can see the outside was cut. So now we're going to start cutting the patch panels and tacking them in. Basically I got these patch panels from Raybuck's Auto. They were about, depending on the piece, $20 to $40 each. The rockers I think were $60 each side, and these little patch panels for the bed were about 25 to 30 bucks. And as you can see, I basically just cut them out to fit and I tacked them in. This is the passenger side rear bed corner. So I overlaid the panel and I traced from the inside where I wanted to cut out the replacement piece so it would be a nice perfect fit. As you'll see in some of these pictures, they aren't exactly dead on even with the cuts, but most of the gaps were able to be filled with weld. If not, I'll have to cut a little strip of metal and just tack that in. This is the lower front portion of one of the bed sides that was welded in and then grinded down. This is the rear corner of the driver's bed. As you can see, I'm starting to tack in little by little that piece. I would tack it in, start grinding them down, and then start tacking in between those welds. So in these pictures you might see a huge gap between one weld to the other, But just keep in mind, those were filled in between with more tacks, but I'm just showing some of the steps I was taking from welding them in and grinding it down. Okay, the rocker panel replacements, again, they were a lot larger than what I needed, so I basically taped off sections I know I was going to cut out. I just wanted to have nice straight edges, and I would just start cutting out pieces and basically putting it in place and working my way down. If I need to cut out a little more, I would do that, pull it off, cut it, refit it, see if it fits a little bit better, and just keep doing that back and forth until you have something that has a nice clean edge with the original rocker. As you can see in some of these pictures now, it's starting to come to shape. This is the driver's side, nearly fitted in. I think I still have some more trimming that needs to be done. And here you can see where I'm starting to actually tack weld it in. And as you can tell, my welding ability is not very good, but practice makes perfect. So yeah, at the end it did seem to work pretty good. All the welds were fully penetrating the metal, and it was pretty solid after I finished grinding everything down. So time for a beer break.